stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no. They won't stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no.
Hello and welcome back to We Are Mighty. How you doing today? Do you feel mighty? Do you feel empowered? Do you feel like you are in control of your grief journey and the grief journey is not in control of you? Do I feel that way? Nope. If I'm honest, the thing about grief, you just cannot predict what's going to happen. Every time I think I'm in control of it, it lets me know, nah, you don't have control like you think you do. And that's because you never know what's going to become a trigger. You never know what's going to send you over the edge. This week, we had a blizzard. And it's hilarious because here in the Midwest, you can have a blizzard and a 70-degree day in the same week. When we had the blizzard, I literally was sad because I knew the ground would be cold. As if my son could feel that. Then I thought about, it's going to be warm this week. He always loved when the seasons changed and it got warmer, although his asthma didn't. But that made me sad. It shouldn't, but it did. And I can't predict it. I can't call it. I've said before, things that I expect to make me upset or make me sad or, make me miss my son more, don't always do that. And things that I would never expect, those are the things that have now become triggers. It's really weird. And I'm wondering now because there's a place that I have refused to go. So I sing with a band and there's this really cool venue in our downtown area, but it is literally across the street from the place where my son lost his life. And so whenever I'm asked to go there or our band is asked to perform, I tell them that I can't go to that place. And the reason is when the situation happened with my son and my husband and I, were trying to get to the location, we parked right in front of that place. It wasn't open yet, but the first time that I actually tried to go there, and I may have talked about this before, we drove down there and we were trying to find a place to park. And I said, I can't remember the last time I've been down here at night. And then it hit me. When was the last time? And I had a panic attack and we had to go home. And since then, I have not tried to go back to that venue. So now I'm wondering, would it be as bad, as it was before if I try to go to this place? I guess it's kind of a overcome your fear type of thing because I used to literally avoid the intersection. I would not go downtown so that I wouldn't get stopped at the light and be in front of that building. There's been other places nearby that I've avoided, and I've taken some steps because there was a restaurant where someone had an event, and it was a rooftop restaurant not far from the rooftop where my son was killed. I made it about 20 minutes before I couldn't really take it. And that's because I literally was looking at the place where it all took place. So that was a big step. So I just I don't know. I wonder if going to that venue may be something that I can do, because it's a really cool place. And I met the owner a while ago, and she's such a sweetheart. I just couldn't set foot in there. So with the way things have been going, would it really be a trigger for me? Or would it really be a trigger for me? I don't know. I'll try sooner or later. I just know that there's no way to plan, if you will, for how grief is going to affect you. And that's from, I can say one day to the next. It can literally be from 1 hour to the next. And I have weird things that happen. And my son had when he was a little guy learning to use the potty, he was proud of himself when he, finally went poo in the potty. And he was at his dad's house, and he jumped up to go get his dad because he needed help with wiping. There's a reason I'm telling you this. And he jumped up to go get his dad, but he had his pants at his ankles, and he's trying to run to go get his dad, let him know what he did so he can come and help him. And he tripped and fell. Probably 18 months old, somewhere around there. Tripped and fell and hit a corner of the wall, like right on the corner. And he busted his eyebrow, his left eyebrow, so bad that we actually had to take him to the hospital, and he had to get stitches. And I remember he was so strong, it took me and 3 nurses to hold him down to get 2 stitches in his eyebrow. And so as he got older, Miles always had this scar in his eyebrow, and it grew over it a little bit, but you would always see, the thinning in his eyebrow. Now, fast forward to today. As you know, I have an amazing foster child who is 7.5 months old. And we were in the grocery store, I have him in a stroller. And this particular stroller has his car seat in it, so he's facing me. And I happened to look down at him. And his left eyebrow is like thin in an area, like separated almost. And it looked exactly like the scar that Miles had as an adult from falling when he was little. When I say freaked me out to the point that I was just in tears, and it was crazy. And I had to show my aunt and show other people because I wanted to make sure I wasn't seeing anything. I actually took pictures. A picture of the baby's face, and I had it compared with a picture of Miles' face, and you literally see where the scar seems to be on his eyebrow. And the baby hasn't had any injuries. My aunt literally looked at the baby and said, "Miles, is that you?" So it's like these strange phenomenon that are starting to happen, and things that would make you, I guess in normal circumstances, react differently had it not been for the grief. I remember that Miles was, as a baby, he was fearless. Miles had stitches before his first birthday because his brother closed the door on his finger, and he barely cried. And he didn't cry when he got the stitches. He fought the ladies, but he didn't cry. And I remember thinking that he was just so strong and so fearless right up until the end, I guess. And there was a day that I was trying to put my child in his stroller, and the foster baby, and I was sitting the seat up, and I'm trying to figure out why the seat wouldn't latch, why I couldn't get it up far enough to ledge. And I look down and the baby has his arm in the way of the seat. Now, of course, I wasn't shoving or anything, thank goodness. But still, you would think that he would be here. And he's just looking at me like, yep, my arm's up there. You might want to move it. And it reminds me so much of Miles. And on one hand, those situations, I smile. And on the other, it just makes me miss him even more. It's weird to have the foster child because anyone who knows the story knows it doesn't happen that way. There's things you have to go through to become a foster parent. You don't literally have someone just walk up to you and say, hey, do you want a baby? And so those things just, I cherish every moment. But there's moments that it's just so close to how it was with raising Miles that it becomes difficult. I'd like to get a handle on that because I don't want to not enjoy the important moments and not be present. But I'm not going to lie, there's days when it's so hard. It's so hard to not miss my son in the midst of raising another beautiful little boy. Grief is sneaky. Grief is crazy. Grief is just hard to even describe. It's hard to prepare for. Even when you have someone that you know they're sick and, you know, and they put people who are sick on hospice or whatever and they try to prepare you, there's really no preparation that fully helps you with dealing with what's to come because it's still an unknown. Just like every new day is an unknown. It's an unknown of how your day is going to go. It's an unknown of what you may accomplish. And when you're living with grief, it's an unknown of what's going to affect you. That is what I absolutely hate. The unknown. I wish I could go to bed at night and know, okay, tomorrow you're going to see this. And it's going to affect you in this way. And you may cry for a few seconds or a few minutes, but you'll get past it and just be strong. But that moment's coming. You're going to see something that triggers you. You're going to hear something that triggers you. You're going to be at work typing and a word will remind you of a conversation because all of these things have happened. It would be nice to have a heads up because I don't think it would even affect me any less. But to at least know it's coming to take away some of that shock value would be awesome. So if anyone knows how to, I guess, reach out to grief and let it, him, her know that it's not fair the way that it surprises us with these things, and we'd appreciate a heads up next time. Let me know how that goes. But seriously, it stinks. And I noticed a lot of people around me suffered losses after I lost my son. And I wonder, was it that there was just a lot that happened after, or that I was more heightened to paying attention to the fact that it was happening? Or there was more people going to social media, posting these things, making it more known that there was, losses taking place. So I know that there's other people who are dealing with it. And I see people make posts about their loved ones and how angry they are so I don't feel so alone. How they wish they had more time, or how they wish things could change, or they could wake up from this nightmare, which I still feel here almost 3 years later. I'd love to wake up from this nightmare. But then in waking up from it, think of everything that's happened since then. There's so much that I can't say I would want to not have experienced or to no longer experience. So I have to accept it. There was 2 stages of grief right there. The anger, the acceptance. I wish it was literally a cycle. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Now you're done. Not that you don't still remember them, not that you don't miss them, but going through all of those emotions. I would love to not go through those emotions, because I literally can hit each stage of grief in less than an hour. Just the thought of missing my son, or the thought of something that he didn't get to participate in, the fact that he didn't get to have kids as much as he loved kids, or the fact that he didn't get to, excel in the position that he had just gotten just a couple months before the tragedy happened, and where he could be now. In thinking of those things, I can easily go through each stage of grief over and over. And they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. So I feel like grief and that grief cycle is a little bit of insanity. Now, of course, we're not intentionally going through these things over and over, because, of course, if we could control it, we would. But to continue going through these cycles, continue dealing with these emotions, continue dealing with the sadness and the anger and that's insanity to me. Even if it wasn't the definition, just going through it is insane. It's insane. And I am at therapy every week. I have a great therapist. It gives me great tools to deal with the things. And yes, the tools work to a certain extent. But when it continually happens, like, what do you do? I go through the stages. One of those stages is anger, and then I get angry that I'm again going through these stages. It's never ending. And there's no other situation that I can think of where you go through the cycle that way. You don't have to go step by step. You're all over the place. You hit each section of it or each segment of it, and it just repeats itself. Like, literally, what emotion can you say that happens with? You can't even say that happens with love. Yes, you love a person, you fall in love, you deal with the love every day, and you're continually loving them, and your love grows, and your love changes. So you can't even say that emotion that you will deal with, especially if you're married, you're going to deal with this Till death do you part, right? Until you get to a point where you're going to have to deal with grief. Because death has done you part. I don't know. I don't know why the cycle of life is that everyone who lives must die. But then again, I ain't got nothing to do with it. So I guess it's not for me to understand. I just wish it would get easier as the time goes by. I don't feel like it's gotten any easier from the day that we lost him until now, 2.5 years later. It doesn't feel any easier. You know, I think about, there's a praise and worship song that says it won't always be like this. I don't know if that's the case. I don't want it to be the case. But it's very difficult to deal with. And again, I know I'm not the only one. And I say these things, I express these things here so that you know if you're going through it, you're not the only one. It's crazy that it's something that collectively so many people face and don't want to face alone, but don't necessarily want to face it with others because you don't know how your reaction's going to be. I don't remember my reaction at the hospital, but I know that it was difficult for my husband and my pastor, who had to try to be strong for me as I was going through it. I never want to go through that part again. But there are days where I drive past that hospital. It just so happens that my current babysitter doesn't live far, so I pass it every day. But some days I see something and it's a totally different feeling than others. Some days I intentionally do not look towards the hospital. There was a day where just the emergency sign for the emergency room took me over the edge. There's been days where I've driven by it and I have literally screamed. I have cried out of nowhere. And that's not being able to control those emotions. It's wild, especially when you're a person who tries to stay cool, calm, and collected, who tries to stay in control of their emotions, in control of their surroundings. So to literally be driving and inhale, and as you exhale, you are in tears, is crazy. Now, does it happen as often as it used to? No. So I guess that makes it a little bit better. Does that mean I miss them any less? Of course not. I feel like sometimes I have to say those things because there are people who are just, I don't want to call anybody stupid, but there are people who are just stupid when it comes to grief and what a person deals with and how they deal with it. And, you know, we had a whole episode about how people thought with happiness that you're no longer grieving. Not true. Now, how insane is that to be smiling on the outside, but still on the inside, feeling empty, feeling a loss, feeling like knowing that a piece of you is gone, but still smiling and trying to enjoy your life because it still goes on. Like I said, insanity. That's insane. But it's necessary. So I just feel like, last time I said the presence of joy doesn't mean the absence of grief, which is very true. But I feel like the presence of grief equals the presence of insanity. Now, not clinical insanity that you can use as an excuse to do something crazy. But it's definitely insane, the things that go through your mind, the things that you deal with on a daily basis, the things that pop up out of nowhere and make you go back to dealing with that. The days where you may wake up with a smile on your face, a smile in your heart, go about your day, and you may make it 22 and a half hours. And then out of nowhere, something just takes you to a dark place. Those quiet moments where you may be trying to reflect on your day or reflect on how far you've come. And it sneaks up. Grief rears its ugly head. You cannot tell me that that is not insane. Grief and insanity, as far as I'm concerned, go hand in hand. That's why it's important to address your mental health. That's why it's important to have a therapist or psychiatrist, psychologist, a friend, if you are, because I know there are people who are against mental health. But mental health is real. And mental health care is very, very, very necessary. Even the strongest of us, which I absolutely thought I was one of, need that help. So when you're dealing with the grief and the insanity that's hand in hand that goes along with it, make sure you have someone to help you navigate those waters. The only way to deal with the storm is to go through it. So I pray that you take the time to address your mental health. You take the time to realize how it is affecting you in your daily walk and your daily thoughts, and find someone qualified to help you navigate it. Because otherwise, you're going to be stuck in this cycle of insanity, and it's a downward spiral. And I don't wish that on anyone. Because what could happen if it's allowed to go too far is that you could do something that ends up with your family in that same cycle of insanity, in that same cycle of grief. And it may not be a loss of your life, but a loss of you, the person that your family loves, the person that they were accustomed to prior to. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to fight. I know that I've become a different person since losing my son. And I'm trying my best to get as close as I can to who I was before, knowing that I'll never be that person again. But I want to get to a likable state, if that makes sense. So make sure you take care of your mental health. Make sure you take care of yourself. It's fun to try to take care of other people. I don't mean fun in that way, but a lot of times we want to take care of others. But it's important to make sure self-care is also at the top of your list. I hope I helped you. I probably confused you because it's insanity. But if you take nothing else from this episode, please focus on your self-care as often as you can. I have to take the advice myself, of course. But I'm going to do it. We are here every other Friday, everywhere you listen to podcasts, and you can watch us on YouTube and Spotify. As always, in everything you do, even in your self-care, be true to yourself, be strong, and be mighty. We'll see you next time.
They won't stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no. They won't stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no.